Inshallah, we can remember all of the ones who have paved our path to be in the Majalis Azab Abi Abdullah Hussain, our forefathers, our friends, our relatives, the scholars who have helped us come to the path and have enlightened our hearts with the love of Abi Abdullah, the Surah Al-Fatiha. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين روحي وأرواحنا لتراب مقدمه الفداء فقد قال الله في كتابه المجيد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا من يرتد منكم عن دينه فسوف يأتي الله بقوم يحبهم ويحبونه أذلة على المؤمنين عزة على الكافرين يجاهدون في سبيل الله ولا يخافون لومة لائم صدق الله العلي العظيم. For the hastening of the reappearance of our Imam, please recite a louder salawat. So just as Hazrat Abbas is the alamdar, is the wafadar of Abi Abdullah Hussain, so that we can be the bawafa of our Imam, recite the loudest of salawat. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. What we mentioned yesterday was about this idea of how love, when it awakens within our hearts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our path towards Him increases in its speed, and our awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases. And we mentioned that it's the awareness, truly, that allows for love to happen in the first place. Without knowing something, we can't truly love something. And we need to have within us this desire, this ultimate seeking of God, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We want to make it so that we truly, really, intimately are aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so we can love Him, and so that we can travel along this path towards Him. Now, this idea of love being this primal motivator is something we see throughout our lives. When we have our normal interactions, whenever we do things in a normal way between friends, between family, between anyone, we see it all the time. That one of the most powerful things we have is love. That when we have it, it drives us and it allows us to do things that we never thought possible. But if I have this love for this other person, I can do things, I can move mountains, I can do whatever needs to be done. We witness this regularly. We need to have this for the largest and most important things within our lives as well. That primal motivator for us within our own deen is also love. But sometimes we get in the way. We get in the way of our own selves. There's a beautiful couplet in Farsi from a poem from Hafiz, where it says, Baina ashik wa ma'ashuk hich ha'il nist. Between the lover and the beloved, there is no barrier. Tu khud hijab khudi Hafiz, as miyan barkhis. You are the barrier of yourself, O Hafiz. Get up from in the middle. This is beautiful poetry, saying that look, between me and my beloved, between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no barrier. If I'm seeing a barrier, if I'm seeing some separation, it's me. I'm the separation. I'm the separator between myself and my beloved. I need to get out of the way. The ego, this I, this me, I need to get out. This idea, this delusion that we have when we live in this world, that everything is about me and my experiences. Everything is about how I see things, how I feel about things, what matters to me. That's the barrier. That's what needs to be get rid of. And yes, it's quite difficult. That path, that way is not easy. But it is simple in its first steps. It's not easy to implement in its totality. But in the first steps, what we have before us is quite straightforward. We do our wajibat, and we avoid what's haram. This is the ultimate of our wayfaring, of spiritual wayfaring. This is it. I mentioned before that our spiritual wayfaring in Islam is not about feeling this tingly feeling that I feel this presence of God in my life. Alhamdulillah, if we're blessed with that, then that's great. But we don't chase a feeling. It's not about what can I do to keep on feeling good. Because that, again, goes about me, how I'm feeling. That's not the point. The point is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes the way towards it's just this perseverance on this truth. There's a story about one of the famous Urafa, Ahmed Karbelai. When he was learning Islam in his hawza, in his studies, he had one great problem. His problem was his mother-in-law. His mother-in-law was living with him. Whenever he would come to the house, she would annoy him, she would insult him, she would do this, nag him. He was patient and patient and patient and patient. Until one day, it was too much. He didn't do anything, he just went onto the rooftop. Went to the rooftop of his house and asked for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. He says, he narrates himself that from that day on is when his eyes opened. That perseverance that he had, tolerating it, that's what allowed. No one is saying again, just to be ultimately clear, absolutely clear, no one is saying that you should be okay with an abusive relationship. That's not the point. The point is that sometimes, if I'm stuck in a bad relationship, if I'm stuck in the worst possible situation, that worst of situations is sometimes the best of blessings for me. What I can attain within that context is sometimes beyond what anybody else can. Look at Hazrat Asiya. Right? She's mentioned in the Quran as an uswa, as a role model for all of mankind, not just for women, all of mankind. She's the wife of Fir'aun. Worst of situations imaginable. Right? Being a believing woman married to this kind of person, of Fir'aun, worst kind of position imaginable. The sacrifices she had to make. The steps she took to protect Hazrat Musa. All these things. And in the end, she's killed by her husband. But she becomes a role model for all of mankind. She becomes one of the ladies of light. She becomes someone that's guaranteed the highest ranks. The key thing that I'm trying to point out is that, yes, we all want to have the ideal situation in our lives. We want to have the best of families, the best of friends, the best of environments, everything around us. We want the Imam to be right in front of us, guiding us, taking our hand step by step. We would love for that to happen. All of that. But that's not in our hands. We can pray for that, and we should pray for that. But what's in our hands is to persevere in every situation and circumstance. The path towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not defined, limited by his particular circumstances. It's not that the only ones who can travel to Allah are the ones who are perfect already. No. The path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what our deen allows for us, is for every circumstance, every time. There is no dead end. There is no place where I can say that I'm beyond God's mercy. One of the greatest sins, al-ya'as min rawhillah, to have this, say that I'm beyond God's mercy, to say that what I've done in terms of sin is beyond what God can forgive. That's one of the biggest sins itself. Because I'm saying I've done something greater than what God can do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beyond that. The path to Him is forever open. No matter the circumstance, no matter where you are. One of the symbols of that, beautiful symbols of that, is this Majlis Aizah. This Majlis Aizah that's been continuing for 1400 years. Enlivening our hearts. Time and time again. The passions that flow through our veins in this time. What we feel, the connection we feel, our awareness of things. It's a gift. It's a great gift that we've been given. We pray that we're never separated from this Majlis Aizah. As long as we live, we want to be a part of it. But we have to take it as a gift. A gift comes with responsibilities as well. We need to wake up. Now, in this path of this erasing of the self, of trying to move ourselves from out of our own path, it sounds somewhat contradictory sometimes. What does that mean? How can I move out of my own way? It seems like I'm contradicting myself even as I'm saying it. It sounds like, sure, it sounds like a nice tagline, but it doesn't sound real, it doesn't sound actionable. What does that mean? And here's where we have to realize that we are multi-dimensional beings. We have a material aspect to ourselves. And we have something that's immaterial, beyond that, a lofty self, a spiritual self, a ruh, a soul, a nafs, that is immaterial, that longs for something much greater. If I look to myself and I identify myself as only this as only this animal that's walking on this earth and eating and sleeping and drinking, and that's what I see myself as, then that self-conception that I have is the biggest barrier between me and actually going and meeting what I actually need. I have truer needs, deeper needs that are within me. Fundamental needs. One of the, again, blessings that we have. Right? It's not an azima. It's not an obligation. It's a blessing. It's something that's given to us, a gift. Is Shahr Ramadan. Sometimes we take it as a burden, something that I'm pulled back by. I'm forced to, stay hungry and thirsty for a full month. It's difficult, it's tiring, it's, holds me back. I can't study properly, I can't work properly, I can't do this, I can't do that. And yes, all those things might be true. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need our obedience. He doesn't benefit from me obeying Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beyond that. He's absolute, immutable, immovable, infinite. Whatever I do to obey Him, no matter if I do the greatest acts of obedience, it does not benefit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the slightest. If I do the greatest acts of sinning, it does not harm Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the slightest. So the only one that is benefiting by obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is myself. I'm the primary beneficiary. And so when I'm fasting, I should be looking for this. What is it that I'm benefiting from? One of the benefits. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is awakening us to this reality that look, there's a more fundamental need that you have than this hunger and thirst. This hunger and thirst that you have, they're your material self. There's something more fundamental, driving you. There's more fundamental thing that's giving you stability, that's enlivening you, that's giving you existence, without which you would cease to exist. We have within us this ultimate, intimate knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of us are born with it. It's just our desires, our attention to this world that clouds our eyes. Now, we had mentioned yesterday the verse of the Quran that said, لَقَدْ كَرَمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ, that certainly we have ennobled Bani Adam, the children of Hazrat Adam, all of humanity. We've made them, ennobled them. We talked about how this distinguishment came about through this intellect. Now, this distinguishment that is there is sometimes sacrificed by my own actions. Sometimes it's taken away when I look to myself and see myself as the guarantor of ennobling myself. I see myself as I'm the arbitrator of what is great and what is not. I look to myself and see that it's by my efforts that I've become great. It's by my deeds that I've become something noteworthy. There's this idea sometimes that's floated around, especially in modern psychology. And my point isn't to bash on psychology, although there is a lot to bash within psychology. But there's the idea that, we are always trying to make someone feel satisfied, feel happy, feel, self-sufficient, feel like they can handle any problem. They are the ones who can do things. I give someone self-confidence, self-esteem. All of these buzzwords that we have that we're looking for, sometimes we think of them as innocuously, they're very positive. They seem like they're very good things. Who doesn't want self-esteem? Who doesn't want self-confidence? Who doesn't want to have seen themselves in a good and positive light? All these things seem like they're natural things that we should all want. The problem in all of these things is that self. My esteem, my confidence, my self-regard cannot be based on myself. It has to be based on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives me confidence. He gives me esteem. He gives me self-regard. He gives me nobility. It says, لَقَدْ كَرَمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. He is the one who gave me kirama. That kiramatun nafs, that nobility of the self, that distinguishment, that self-confidence, that nobility. He gave it to me. It's His. He is the arbitrator. I'm the recipient. Now, some people might say that, well, if you look at it like that, then it goes into depression. I don't have nothing. I'm nothing. And in fact, if you look at our dua, all the time, almost every dua you pick up, you'll see that we look at ourselves in an extremely negative light. We're always criticizing ourselves within the dua. We're always saying how bad you are. Right? If you look at our du'as, honestly speaking, it seems like that's always what we're saying. But there's always that side too. When I turn towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and I say that everything is in your hands. You can change me. I'm putting myself in your hands, O Allah. I'm giving up my control, this fantasy of control that I have, this illusion of control I have, and putting it in the hands who has the control and mastery of everything. What greater comfort can there be than that? It's not depressing. It's uplifting. Because I have two options. I can either live my life with the illusion that I'm in control and deceiving myself. And then when the curtains fall, إِذَا مَاتُوا انْتَبَهُوا, when I die, I wake up to the reality and realize I lived a lie. Right? There's a verse of the Quran, هَلْ نُنَبِّئُكُم بِالْأَخْسَرِينَ أَعْمَالًا? Right? Should I make you aware of the ones who are the worst in deeds? الَّذِينَ ضَلَّ سَعْيُهُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَأَنَّهُمْ يَحْسَبُونَ أَنَّهُمْ يَحْسَنُونَ صُنْعًا. All of their deeds in this world are going astray. But all the while, they're thinking that they're doing good things. They're thinking that they're doing good and better. We can either live like that, or we can open our eyes to reality and hand the reins of our lives to the one who has everything in his control in the first place. There's no loss. There's nothing I'm giving up. There's nothing I'm losing. I'm gaining infinitely by that. He has everything in his hands in the first place. That's the way we want to live. And yes, the steps towards that are frightening. Because to me, the most tangible things that I grow up with, that I think of, that I see, are my own experiences. And everything in my experiences keeps on reinforcing in my mind that it's all about me. It's all about how I feel. It's all about how I've conceived of things, how I think of things, how I understand things. But if we let go of that illusion, it's the greatest comfort that we can have. Through that, we can move mountains. Through that, everything becomes achievable. The impossible becomes possible. When we look at Imam Hussein and his caravan, and we think to ourselves, how is it that people can bear that kind of hardship? How is it that Hazrat Zainab, after seeing that amount of tragedy, that amount of difficulty, how is it that she can go into the court of Yazid and still champion the cause of Imam Hussein? How is it that one woman can carry the flag of Islam like that? What allows her to do it? What allows her to be able to do it? It's because she sees everything from a godly lens. Everything happening from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We come from Allah and to Him we return. That is the greatest source of comfort. That everything is happening before Him and He considers everything. All the consequences are accounted for. Nothing will be lost. Now, the question that we face here is that where do we go? What step do I take? The verse of the Quran that I mentioned in the beginning sometimes holds a secret. It says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا من يرتد منكم عن دينه فسوف يأتي الله بقوم يحبهم ويحبونه. It says that, oh, people who believe, right? Addressing the mu'mineen, not the kuffar, the mu'mineen. Those among you who turn away from your deen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will replace you with a qawm. He'll soon replace you with a people who love Him, whom He loves, and whom they also love Him. What are these people's attributes? This is where the secret is. We want to be like this qawm, the ones who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves and whom they love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But these attributes, أذلة على المؤمنين عزة على الكفار على الكافرين. They're humble and have humility before the believers. Their ego does not come up in front of the believers. There's a time, it's narrated of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, when he was walking in the streets, don't know where exactly this was, whether it was Medina or Kufa, and he hears a person bad-mouthing him, talking about Ali in a way, saying Ali is this and that. Not only does he not respond to him, he says to himself, he mentions a beautiful piece of poetry where he says that perhaps they were talking about some other Ali. Even though he knows they were talking about him. He says to himself, look, they were talking about another Ali. Not to deceive himself. The point is that not to feel that my ego has to rise up and say, I'm Ali, I'm the one, I did this. If anyone had a right to champion themselves, it would be Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, no, he's humble before the Mu'min. We need to have that within us. The opposite too. عِزَّةً عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ. In front of the disbelievers though, they're stern. They're severe. Doesn't mean disrespectful. Doesn't mean rude. But it means that if between me and you, there's a barrier, and that barrier is tawheed, where I am going and orienting my direction in one way, and everything All of my efforts, everything, my worldview, everything is pointing me in one direction, and you are rejecting that, then you're not just rejecting one simple aspect of my life, you're rejecting the most important thing, not just for me, but for the whole of the universe. And so there cannot be a friendship that exists. There cannot be something that crosses that barrier. And so there's that severity that exists. The severity of acknowledging that I'm living my life on a basis, on a principle that is so important to me, so beloved to me, that anyone who rejects it, I can't help but disassociate from them. Think about it in terms of this. All of us, inshallah, have love for our parents in our hearts. What if we have someone in our lives, around us, that is constantly disparaging our parents, saying that they're nothing, they're worth nothing, they're doing nothing? Constant. Obviously, we would feel not only like a disassociation for them, we would probably, beat them up. We would do something. We wouldn't handle it. We couldn't bear that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is supposed to be dearer to us than our own family, closer to us than our own family. The love that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala holds for us is more, incomparably more, than the love that a mother has for her own children. If that is the core principle and bedrock of my deen, then that becomes an impassable barrier. Not to say that I cut relations off from someone who disbelieves. Plenty of people who are disbelieving just need a good action towards them and they'll turn. They just need a good deed done to them. They just need to see that we have good akhlaq, good characteristics, and they'll be attracted. No one is saying being rude, but it's saying that the closeness that I feel should be felt with the people who share their life's trajectory. Beyond that, يُجَاهِدُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَلَا يُخَافُونَ لَوْمَةَ اللَّائِمِ. They struggle on the path of Allah, and they're not taken aback by the ones who sort of detract from them, the ones who are just saying, wait, hold on, hesitate, don't do that, be fearful, be afraid, think about yourself, think about your life, think about your welfare, think about your children, think about your family. None of that takes them away from the struggle on the path of Allah. Sometimes we have this sort of savior complex within our minds, that I think to myself that I am the beloved of Allah. I am the one, the chosen people. We're the chosen people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are the muhibbeen of the Ahlul Bayt. We are the people who are saved. We are the Ahlul Jannah. We are the Ashab al-Jannah. Sometimes we think to ourselves in those words. You know who else famously and repeatedly is described in these words? In the Quran? It's the Bani Israel. The Bani Israel are the ones who are constantly thinking of themselves as the chosen ones, as the ones who are special without needing to do anything, as the ones who are guaranteed Jannah. We read Surah Jum'ah. يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين. If you think that you are the special people of God rather than any other people, then desire death. If you think of death as just as transformation, you're reaching God, you're reaching His promise, then desire death. وَلَا يَتَمَنَّوْنَهُ أَبَدًا بِمَا قَدَّمَتْ أَيْدِيهِمْ. And they will never desire death because they know what they've sent before themselves. The point is to turn that question to ourselves. We also think we're the chosen ones. And in some ways we are. Just like the Jews in some ways were the chosen ones. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself says in the Quran that He chose the Jews beyond all other people. And in some ways we are the chosen ones. We're granted this greatest blessing of the love of the Ahlul Bayt. We are distinguished by that. But the question is, what do I do with it? The question is, what am I doing with it? Just because I'm distinguished and granted a favor, granted a head start, doesn't mean that I deserve it. لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى وَأَنَّ سَعْيَهُ سَوْفَ يُرَى. For mankind, there is nothing. Mankind gets nothing except for that which they strive for. And they'll soon see the results of their efforts. Or may be made to see the results of their efforts. That means if I'm given a head start by being born in a Shia family, or being enlightened and guided to a Shia faith, to the faith of Islam, then that means that I will be held accountable for that as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask me, what did you do with that head start? What did you do with the favors I bestowed on you? What did you do with the gift of the love of the Ahlul Bayt that I granted you? The love of the Ahlul Bayt is as great as it is a tool. It's not the goal. It's not the end. The end is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Imams, the Rasul, all of them are the means to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are not the goal. They're the means. If I get stuck at the means and look at a tool, and I think this is such a great tool, what a great hammer I have. And I just keep on praising this hammer I have, but I never build anything with it. Well, what's the use of the hammer? Did I do something great by owning a hammer? The whole point of it was to build something. Na'udhu billah, we're not comparing Rasulullah or the Imams to a hammer. They're much, much beyond that. But in the same conceptual understanding, their function within our lives is to transform us, to bring us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to take our hands and bring us to our destination. If we're dragging our feet and going in the opposite direction, no matter how many tears I shed, it doesn't matter. That's the whole point, is to actually go towards the destination. So we have to have within us this awareness, this readiness to look at ourselves critically and think to myself, where are my points of weaknesses? Is it in the aqaid? Is it in my belief system? Is it in how I see myself? Is it in my desires? Have I looked to Islam? Have I learned Islam? Have I breathed Islam? What is my relationship with Islam? Is it a seasonal thing that just comes and goes depending on the day? Is it something that's locational, spatial? It comes out when I'm in the center. Outside of the center, it comes off. Is it just based on who I'm around? When I'm around Muslims, then all of a sudden I can start to talk in Quran. But when I'm away from Muslims, all of a sudden my language changes. How am I living my life? Our deen is not something that's just by name. It's supposed to be breathed, lived, acted on. That's why in the Quran, if you see, time and time again, whenever Iman is mentioned, Amal as-Salih is mentioned. Whenever having faith and belief is mentioned, righteous deeds are mentioned. They're paired together. Not in the sense that Iman can be there and Amal as-Salih is a step above that. But rather, Iman only exists when there's also Amal as-Salih as well. If I don't have righteous deeds, if I'm not doing and walking the walk, then I don't have Iman. Wow. In Surah Hujurat, when the Bedouins come in front of Rasulullah and they say that Amanna, that we have Iman, what does Rasulullah say? You're supposed to say, no, you don't have Iman. Don't say that. Rather say, Aslamna. Say that you've submitted. but Iman hasn't yet entered your hearts. It's not how you're living. It's not how you're breathing. Don't claim something that's false. Don't claim something that's false. One of the beautiful things we have, right? One of the great beautiful things we have is our du'as that we inherit by the Imams. One of the distinguishing factors, if you want to really truly compare, sometimes we reach at the veracity of our madhab from these things. That if you compare the Ahl Sunnah and what they have in terms of dua with what we have in terms of our dua from the Imams, not only the amount, but the beauty and the eloquence and the concepts that are described in our dua are beyond compare. Because the Ahl Sunnah do not narrate from the Imams, they're cut off from the vast majority of them. They're cut off from the vast majority of a'mal that we have. But these du'as, each one of them, they're oceans of meaning. They're encyclopedias that we need to digest and dissect. They're not just meant to be recited. They're meant to be studied. One of the du'as that we have, Dua Qumir, very beautifully, one of the sections it says, when we're talking about our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how much we love Him, we say to Him that I would be ready for any punishment. Ready for any punishment. I can understand, I can bear any punishment. But I can't bear your separation. In Al-Muraqibat, right, the book I had mentioned previously, Jawad Maliki Tabrizin, he mentions that, are we saying this particular line properly? Have we ever stopped and thought, what does that even mean? That I'm ready to be in Jahannam, but I can't handle firaqak. I can't handle your separation. Or are we just saying it just because it's in the dua? At the very least, stop and think. Stop and think that if I'm separated from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that means I'm separated from all that is good. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the ultimate good. He is the ultimate perfection. If I'm separated from Him, I am separated from everything. If I'm separated from Him, I'm separated from the Ahlul Bayt. If I'm separated from Him, I am separated from Jannah and all of its rewards. And so when I say that I can handle Jahannam in the fire, but I can't handle your separation, I'm saying that fire on its own doesn't mean anything to me. Separation from you, that's everything. Don't put that on. Then we say the dua. Then we're actually calling out to our Lord. Then it's ad'uni fastajib lakum. Then it's when I'm calling upon my Lord, He guarantees a response. We have to look at our dua and the rich history that we have and use it. Use the du'as that we have. Use the ziyarat that we have. They're filled with beautiful blessings. Beautiful blessings. Beautiful lessons. We have the best of teachers available to us. The Imams themselves. They've given us their inheritance. Their inheritance was their ilm. And their ilm has been given to us within these du'as. How much time have we spent thinking and pondering? How much time have we spent looking at? We're approaching the night of Ashura. We know that on the night of Ashura, Imam Sallallahu asked for the night to spend in dua, to spend in worship. If I'm a follower of Imam Hussein, what should I be doing on the night of Ashura? I should be doing the same thing that he did. I should be spending it in worship, spending it in dua. No one is saying not to do the majalis. Have the majalis for sure. Have the azah for sure. But when you return home, when you have some time, don't waste that night. Turn towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do dua. Call out to your Lord. If you can't do it sincerely with an Arabic word because you're not familiar with it, do it with your own tongue. in your own language. There's no problem with that. Call out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with your own words. Have that relationship. Say that, oh Allah, I might not be feeling it right now. I might not be knowing it right now. I'm not getting it. I don't feel that connection. I don't have this desire to stand in front of you and pray and do dua. But I know that Imam Hussein did it. I want to be like him. And if I can't do it sincerely right now, I'm going to just try my best to force it at least. I'm going to act like it. I'm going to pretend at least. So maybe I can be granted your mercy and you'll change my heart on this night. You'll open my eyes on this night. There's no dead end. Even at our lowest time, when I'm thinking to myself, I'm looking at everyone else is crying in the majlis. And I'm not. Tears are not coming in my eyes. Everybody else is doing sinazani, they're doing matam. And I'm like, I don't get it. I don't feel it. Everybody else is praying on Laylatul Qadr. And I'm saying, it's not me. I don't have it in me. At that moment, when I have that realization that I'm falling behind, I can use that moment and say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm not getting it. But I want to. I want to. I want to get it. I don't want to be left behind. I don't want to be among the ones whom the caravan just passed behind. I could have joined, but I didn't. So change my heart. I'm begging.
Yeah.
We need to have those moments of sincerity in front of our Lord, where I'm begging and honestly pleading in front of Him. Because we are the beggars. We are the beggars. We have nothing without Allah. Nothing. I need to beg. These are the best of nights to do it. The best of nights. What better a night to turn in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the night that Imam Hussein turned towards Allah? What better a night to turn towards Allah when my cheeks are already wet with my tears for Abi Abdullah? What more beautiful of a moment am I waiting for? Let's use them. These are precious gifts, precious beyond measure. We can use them. Now, as we've been doing, mention a brief story of an alim before we turn to the masa'ib. One of the great ulama that we have is by the name of Allama Majlisi. Now, there are two Allama Majlisis. There's Allama Muhammad Taqi Majlisi and there's Allama Muhammad Baqir Majlisi. They're father and son. The son, Majlisi Athani, the second Majlisi, is the compiler of Bihar al-Anwar. I want to talk a little bit about the father, Muhammad Taqi Majlisi. Now, he was learning in the Hawza of Isfahan. That's where both of the Majlisis, they grew learning in the Hawza of Isfahan. At that time, it was one of the biggest and largest centers of learning in the city of Isfahan. One of the things, and interesting things that happened is that Allama Majlisi, Muhammad Taqi Majlisi, has a very large and big class that's there. One of the days, he poses a question to his class. This, is the highest caliber class that's in the Hawza. Poses a question and asks them to answer. All of the students are a bit, they don't know the answer. They're all asking each other. They're all whispering. They're all thinking. All of a sudden, they see that the paper is being passed from the back of the, of the gathering all the way to the front until it reaches the hand of Allama Muhammad Taqi Majlisi. He reads it and he says, "This is definitely the answer. Who's the one who answered this?" Just looking around, nobody's raising their hands. Eventually, someone from the back of the majlis, the very end, said that someone who's even outside, there's a student outside, he's the one who passed it to me. Allama Majlisi calls him up. He sees that it's this student who's wearing very, old clothes, obviously very poor, doesn't really have much. And he says that, wait after this lesson, and I want to speak to you. So speaking to him, asks him, What's your name? Who are you? He says that my name is Mullah Saleh Mazandarani. He starts speaking to him, says that, I come from here, I don't have much money, all these things. From that moment, this Mullah Saleh Mazandarani becomes a close student of Allama Majlisi. Some time passes, Allama Majlisi asks him, don't you want to get married? He says that, I do, of course, I want to get married, but, who will want to get married to me? I have nothing. My possessions are zero, right? I don't have anything. And especially, for the Iranians who are here, they know, especially I'm in Isfahan. In Isfahan, who was going to want to get married to a poor person like me? So he said that, Allah said that if I find someone who's ready to get married, will you get married? He said, yes. Allah goes somewhere, comes back, says that I found someone who's ready to get married to me, right? He says that, come, he says like, okay, let's meet this, this lady. Allah starts taking him, stops at the door, and Mullah Saleh Mazandarani realizes that it's Allama Majlisi's door, it's his house. And he realizes that the lady he's talking about is his own daughter. What Allama Majlisi had said to his daughter was this: I know someone who has lots of iman, is a great person, but he doesn't have a single penny, for lack of a better word, single penny to his name. Look, his daughter responds by saying that I'm not in it for this world. I don't care. If he has iman, I'll be ready. I'm ready for that. And that's where Mullah Saleh Mazandarani becomes the damad of Allama Majlisi. This is the way that the scholars acted. They walked the walk too. It's not that they just preached to others that, oh, look, be ready and be happy to give your daughters to someone who doesn't have money. No, they did it themselves. They walked that walk. Now, the daughter, interestingly, the daughter of Allama Majlisi, the father, so the brother of Allama Muhammad Baqir Majlisi, is also a scholar, great scholar in her own right. And she's actually one of the ones who helps her brother compile Bihar al-Anwar. From her lineage, there are great scholars that come. Anyway, just want to mention one more story of Allama Majlisi, the father. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. One of the things that Allama Majlisi, his father, was obsessed with, that he truly wanted, was to build a relationship between himself and the Imam of the time. This is something he really, really wanted. He woke up thinking about this, he went to sleep thinking about this. He wanted to do something that would allow him to have this relationship. Eventually he's doing ziyarat, he's doing tawassul, he goes to the haram, does ziyarah, he goes home, comes back from ziyarah, from the atabat, still doing tawassul, still doing ziyarah. This is again a lesson for us, right? Ziyarah is not meant to be a thing that's locational. It's not something that's spatial. It's not something that's a special time, special place. Anytime, every time we should be doing ziyarah. The ziyarah of Abi Abdullah Hussein is of the heart. It's not of a location. Every day we should be doing it. Every time we should be doing it. Although it is not something with specifically mustahab to do ziyarah after salah. It's not something specifically mustahab. But it's a beautiful practice. It's a beautiful tradition. Do it. Have this ziyarah. Have this regular thing that I'm constantly, every day, I'm doing the ziyarah of Abi Abdullah Hussein. I'm bringing my heart into the presence of his heart. Aside, going back. He comes one day and he goes into sleep. And as this is happening, you'll see constantly, all of these ulama seem to be having these great dreams. Inshallah, we sometimes will have some great dreams ourselves. And he sees in a dream that he's in front of the Imam of his time. And he calls out to the Imam and says, look, I want to build this connection with you. What can I do? What can I do? The Imam says that, look, there's this person over here, go to him and he'll give you a book that has the way to come to me. Wakes up from this dream. And within the dream itself. Within the dream itself, he goes out of the masjid. He goes to the, like, finds out where this person lives, he sees that this person owns a bookstore, that person hands him the books, and he's very happy. That moment he wakes up, realizes that he still actually was, that whole thing happened in a dream. He's still in the masjid where he had fallen asleep. Thinks to himself, okay, I need to find out where is this, what's happening. He goes out, starts looking, starts asking for that name. He doesn't find someone with that exact name. Eventually, and I'm skipping a lot of details in the interest of time, but he finds a bookstore with someone with a very similar name. And that person says that, look, I have a package of books that were given as a waqf, as an endowment. And everyone that I tried to give it to, since they're not scholars, since they're not aware of the ahkam of how to treat a waqf, I don't want to give it to them. Or I know that they're not going to treat it the proper way. But I know that you're a scholar, and so I want to give this to you. So you use these books in the proper way, in the way that the waqf is supposed to be used. So he takes it, and he sees this book. He opens this book, and the book is Sahifa Sajjadiyya. This time, before this, you'll see that, notice, if you look in history, before Allama Majlisi, Sahifa Sajjadiyya was not known among the Shia. People did not know about it. It wasn't a common book that was read. It wasn't a common book that was known. It's from Allama Majlisi in his efforts after that, where he recognizes that this, he's been told by the Imam, that this is the path to me, that he spreads it. And it becomes in every house. Every house in Isfahan, within his lifetime, has Sahifa Sajjadiyya with it. We have these treasures. Great treasures available to us. How many times have we opened up Sahifa Sajjadiyya? In terms of authenticity even, right? Going to argue based on that. Sahifa Sajjadiyya is one of the books that the Imam himself compiled. And we have narrations of this copy of Sahifa Sajjadiyya being compared to the copy that was in the hands of the descendants of the Imam, passed down hand to hand. And then that copy that was compared was then compared by these other scholars. So that the Sahifa Sajjadiyya that we have in our hands is extremely accurate, extremely authentic. MashaAllah. But how many times have we looked at it? How many times have we studied it? How many times have we gone after it? Beautiful du'as with it. Beautiful du'as. The biggest extreme disservice we do to our Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, is that we call him the Bimar. Yes, he was sick on the day of Ashura in Karbala. But that was just a few days. That's not his whole life. His whole life is spent in trying to spread Islam. To the extent that we have his words in his du'as. We have his lessons in his du'as. Incomparable to anything else. He's not sitting silent and crying and waiting. He's active, he's teaching, he's pushing forward the message of Islam. We need to take advantage of the gifts that we're given. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليكم مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر لحد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. Dear brothers and sisters, if you ever visited Karbala, you know that there are two shining golden domes. If you've ever visited Bainul Haramain, you know you are between two brothers. You know you are between Aba Abdullah Hussein and his greatest of companions, Abbas, Abul Fadl Abbas. Assalamu alayka ya Abbas Salih. السلام عليك يا مطيع لله ولرسوله ولأمير المؤمنين ولفاطمة وللحسن وللحسين. السلام عليك يا قمر بني هاشم. Abul Fadl Abbas is the greatest supporter of Imam Hussein. Whenever Imam Hussein needs something, wants something, Abul Fadl Abbas is there. He is the backbone of Abi Abdullah. He is the support of Abi Abdullah. He is the alamdar of Abi Abdullah. He is the flag bearer, the commander, the support. When the women and children are fearful, all they need to do is look to the flag of Abu Fadl Abbas. That's all they need to do to be comforted. All they need to do is to look out of the tents and see that the flag, the alamdar is still there. And so Abbas is still there. And so there's no need to fear. But a time will come on the day of Ashura. A time will come when all of the companions are gone. A time will come when Abul Fadl Abbas says to his brother, he had three brothers in Karbala, three great brothers, Uthman, Ja'far, Abdullah. He says to his brothers, go and fight. I want to see how you become shaheed before Abi Abdullah. He sends his own brothers to the battlefield. But a time will come when even they are martyred. A time will come when the cries of the children will rise. Al-Atash, Al-Atash, Al-Atash. When the children are crying out in thirst. Abul Fadl Abbas, perhaps, according to one narration, he asked Abi Abdullah, can I go? Can I go to the river? Can I go to the river and get water for your children? For the children who are crying out in thirst? How can Abi Abdullah let him go? But there's no one else left to fight. So he lets his brother go. This is the son of Haydar Karram. This is the son who resembles Amir al-Mu'mineen and is fighting the most. He fights valiantly to the shores of the Euphrates, the shores of the Furat. He reaches into the water. Think of Fadl Abbas at that time, how long it's been for him since he's tasted water, how long it's been since he's tasted any comfort. Perhaps he brings a handful of water to his lips. And he looks to the tents of Abi Abdullah. And he says, no, I cannot drink water while my master is still thirsty. I can't drink water while still the children are crying out in Al-Atar. I can't drink water while Ali al-Asghar is still thirsty. He comes back with the water towards the camp. But he's surrounded and ambushed. In one narration, it's mentioned how he's struck first by on one side, in his right arm. And he says that if you cut off my arm, I'll still fight with my left. And then his left is cut off, and he says, still I'll take this water towards Abi Abdullah. Until the water is also pierced and falls onto the ground. And Abbas is struck and falls from his horse. Dear brothers and sisters, have you ever fallen? Have you ever fallen to the ground? When you fall on the ground, what happens first? What happens first? You break your fall with your arms. You push yourself up with your arms. You stop yourself from being hurt with your arms. What could have happened when he fell from his horse? He cries out, Ya Allah! Oh, brother, reach your life, brother. Whenever Nabi Abdullah rushes to the battlefield, reaches the side of his brother, and sees that he is passed. وقالت حيلتي No, to the throat of Ali al-Asghar. الله القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. فاطمة حسين